Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be back with another young Indian, part of the Voice of the Young series. Right now, we have with us Shashwat Sourav. Let's listen to him. Over to you, Shashwat.
Yeah. So hello everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Mathur for giving me this opportunity to come on his channel. It's an amazing opportunity to be with him here because I have seen his website and some of my friends who are doing their bachelor's in economics or who have graduated now, they know about his core economics book. So in general, he is kind of a renowned personality among people who are doing economics. So yeah, so I had a brief discussion with him to talk about my journey till now from India, now doing my PhD. So I did my bachelor's in data science from Indian Institute of Science Education and Research, Bhopal. Currently, I'm a physics PhD student at Washington University in St. Louis. So a lot of people kind of ask me that why this sort of a transition from data science to physics. So I feel that the answer kind of lies in what research I have been doing since my undergrad. Why this sort of a kind of inclination came to sort of do interdisciplinary research, combining physics and the power of data science that we see today. So it started with in my first year, I was kind of like a lot inclined towards maths and physics. That time there was no sort of a specific area that I wanted to work on, but gradually by time I started exploring various aspects of physics, whether it is theoretical physics or computational physics or in general astrophysics. So astrophysics in general kind of caught my eye, and the reason which I say to people about why this sort of a transition, I feel that when you are in research, you have to understand how the field is progressing. Until unless you understand how the field will look like in the next 10 years, you have to sort of adapt yourself according to that. So what I saw was people using a lot of data analysis, a lot of machine learning algorithms to predict what should will happen in the future. So as an example, when will the next black hole, we will detect the next gravitational waves and all. Machine learning in general has made life easier and has made more correct, I should say, in terms of prediction. Although it's still in its growing phase, it has not reached its full potential. But that was kind of my main reason what I currently see in Washington University also, or in general everywhere around the world, that people are sort of using these techniques to advance their research. So that was one reason why I choose to do a data science major, because it sort of equips me with skills that are required to sort of do data analysis, apply these machine learning technical terms, which we hear from a lot of people now. Everyone is talking about generative AI and sort of like that. So that kind of caught my eye, and then I started working with professors. So if you see my CV or you see my journey throughout, I have been doing research since my first year. So I got a chance to work with Dr. Santanu Manna, who is currently a professor in mathematics department at IIT Indore. He kind of, I worked with earthquake statistics. So that was my first sort of introduction to data science at a very like shallow level, I should say. You enter statistics, then you enter how you analyze the data, then there's algebra and all sort of stuff which you do. And that was my first encounter of how to analyze big data with a lot of data points, how to sort of analyze them, how to visualize them, how to give meaningful inference to the audience, how to do it, when will the next earthquake occur, whether statistics is able to beat machine learning or not. So that was my first encounter, and then I sort of started to get more specific as I moved into my sophomore and junior year. So I collaborated with Dr. Tansu Dailan, who was a postdoc at MIT that time in 2021 when COVID was going on, and now he's a professor at WashU, where I'm doing my PhD. So I will be working with him in the future doing my this PhD because I know him pretty well since his postdoc days. So with him, and Professor Maria Dainotti at Now Japan, I did a lot of data analysis during this time. It was mostly using regression models, building new models to make predictions better. So that sort of, and both of them kind of, like helped me a lot, motivated me a lot to become a good programmer, because the astrophysics community in general has good physicists. So the one piece of thing that lacks to the modern day astrophysicists, those who practice it, is programming, having that sort of inclination towards programming, which I personally didn't have when I was in my first year. But gradually I had to build it up, and I had a very good friend of mine, Amit Shukla, who is a competitive programmer also. So he sort of helped me a lot to kind of get inclined to this. And now I'm doing physics courses mostly in my graduate school in my first semester, because I feel certain topics, I feel that I need a bit more theoretical stronghold. So yeah, but having a good programming skill is very important now. It has creeped in every field, whether Dr. Mathur should agree with me, because economics in general has uses a lot of statistical data, statistical analysis, and data science in general, machine learning or deep learning, whatever it is. So, and people are sort of using these techniques in economics a lot. Like my own friends personally use them for the projects that they did. So during that time, I published papers, and sort of that independent thinking, which is very important as a researcher, to think of problems on your own, to build those ideas on your own without taking anyone's help. That was very important. I would not say I have reached that stage, but I'm still learning. But sort of I got a push during my undergrad. That's why I tell people who are doing a bachelor's in science degree, a BS or a BSc degree, they should focus on getting good research experience. Not only it will help you in getting a strong application for your graduate school, but also it shows that you have some experience, that you will be on that path. Ultimately, what is your goal? Your goal is to do a PhD, become a researcher, and researcher in general has an independent thinking, where he can think of problems on his own and solve it also. That is how, if you build research experience early, that sort of helps you to reach that stage easily and more quicker than other people. So that's what I focused on. Yeah.
I don't
uh,
like to interrupt, but I think you're making a very powerful point. Okay. And so I
yeah,
want to add to it. And I want to broaden it to say that it's not just for research. This
yeah,
kind of actually what research does is at the undergraduate level, as you are talking about, it makes you
yeah,
think on your own, which is what you said.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that actually matters even if you don't become a researcher.
yeah, exactly, that's
That
true, it's true,
matters
very true.
even in the commercial world. It matters even
Yeah,
in the NGO world. It doesn't matter
yeah,
that much in the government because nobody cares what you think.
yeah, exactly.
You just have to do what you are told to do, right?
Yeah,
But if you are not in the government, and most of the people who are doing Vidpeds with me, they are not in the government. If you are
okay,
thinking of commercial, corporate job,
yeah,
and you're thinking development space, NGOs, etc., doesn't matter.
yeah,
That
yeah,
ability to think on your own is
yeah,
not just for research. It's a very
yeah,
important point. I don't want to let it go.
yeah.
Otherwise, I
Yeah.
might
I
forget to
mean,
say something.
eventually, if you open a startup like this initiative, which you have taken to kind of bring in people to talk about their story as of now, that is also requires a sort of that independent, that innovative idea, that why I should do this. You should have a very strong drive for that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
people,
This whole channel is like a startup. It is.
yeah,
It is actually
yeah,
a product of my independent thinking of all
yeah,
this.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
that look, I don't. And by the way, I've started now saying it in a shorthand way, which is
Yeah,
that don't just work outside the box.
yeah.
Create a
That
new box where there
box
is
for,
no
yeah.
box.
I was kind of reading that post. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's
but
a very
you
good
know,
comment.
when you are say, I'm saying I'm outside the box, you are still defined by the box.
Yeah, exactly. You're bounded. Yeah, true.
You're just saying I'm not X, right? But you're still defined with reference to X, right?
Yeah,
But it's like, when you go to Ghana, right?
yeah.
They say we are not Nigeria.
Okay.
We are not Nigeria, please. They are
Okay.
our neighbors, but we are not Nigeria. So you are still defined by that. But what I'm saying is, you're making a very important point. And so let me stop. Continue, please.
Yeah. So that is one important aspect which everyone, like professors around me, who when I was starting my application for PhD, that's one thing that a lot of professors said me that son, it's a PhD, and wherever you do a PhD, it doesn't matter, but that independent thinking quality you should develop. I mean, in academia, it is very important so that you will start leading people to sort of think like that. So then my graduate school application started, and I applied to a lot of places, but as I feel the US application system is like a lottery system, so you have to apply to various places, and I was lucky enough to get three offers from University of Arizona State University, and WashU. Maybe certain selection committees, like the top three, MIT and Harvard, they sort of pointed out that one lacking point in my profile was that I didn't have a core physics background. So it was mostly data science, but it was not like something to discourage me. PhD is defined by you. It's not about the university in which you are doing. It's your PhD. You have to decide how you will pace it, how you develop it. That ultimately will show the world how you are as a researcher, because ultimately quality matters. Maybe the university can give you a platform, but you have to use the platform, or else there is no point of doing a PhD. So that's one thing. And yeah, as of now, the journey has been coming to the US, and doing this PhD with a lot of famous professors whom I have seen, whom I have followed throughout my undergrad, whose paper I have sort of used as a reference in my papers. So it's nice to have a discussion with them. And that is one thing which I feel is different from India, is that they're very friendly in general. Like the courses, they sort of the practical thinking aspect, which I feel it's more evident in US as compared to India. That is one, maybe it's a pretty strong point that I'm making, but I feel that's what I have felt in these 3 weeks of doing my coursework along with my research. And the support I have got from the community of being a more sort of a machine learning guy rather than a core physics guy. So some of the friends in my group, they call me a pseudo physicist. Oh, so it's
Not
like
fake,
someone,
huh? Not fake.
yeah, it's like we have the concept of pseudo force in physics, which is
Yeah,
not actually the force you consider it. So
yeah.
it's like that. But I think a lot of professors did agree that how this field is booming and how it is helping astrophysics community.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm working on that now, and I hope that I can contribute effectively to this field. So that's like a summary of how my journey has been. And
Okay.
yeah.
What tips do you have for young people? I mean, you're given some, but some concrete tips.
Concrete tips, like so we will have like some aspects, like maybe some in general research advice, and then we have some general advice which you should follow. From a research point of view, most of the students, what I observe when they come to the third year or fourth year, they are very skeptical about what will happen. We have to apply for graduate school, we have to get into MIT or Harvard, or else life is like finished. If we don't get a PhD from MIT, people won't recognize it and all. This sort of a thinking will not help. And I think that's you have to understand what's the meaning of PhD in general is. It's not only doctor of philosophy, just reading that entire word is not enough. You have to sort of understand what it demands in general, because it is a long term commitment. It's not like your bachelor's or your master's where you spend doing coursework, and you are sort of, you have a pre-planned everything in your undergrad coursework. You have courses, you take them, you get the credits, you graduate. But in your PhD, you may have coursework. If you are in US, if you are in Europe, that's a different thing. You have a project, you work on it. But if you are in the US, you do coursework, but after you complete those credits, it's about that arena is for like that other space which is left in that duration. You have to use it to build your own ideas into reality. The more better technique you use, the more quality your idea has, the more impact it has on the society. That's how you will be judged on your based on your research. Because personally, in US, you are mostly judged on how you do your research, what your research how it helps the society or how it helps your community in which the field in which you are working. So from a research point of view, just try to work hard and try to get as much as experience as you can during your undergrad. That's very important because that sort of shows the committee that you are looking for. You want to get admitted into the college, that you are a suitable candidate and you are a strong candidate. That's from a research point of view. General advice will be don't rush when you are in your undergrad or in general. Try to stay humble. That's very important. That's a very important quality that I have developed over the years, because one, if you are an undergrad, let's say your undergrad goes very well, you publish papers and you get it, and you then come to a PhD program, life in some way or the other will teach you how to be humble. If you don't respect the situation, you have to, you will be made in that sense that you won't be able to kind of win that situation. So life has its own lessons to teach you, so stay humble all the time. And yeah, that independent thinking, you should work, everyone should work on it. It's not like it will happen in 1 or 2 years. It takes, it's sort of gradual process. I think PhD sort of gives you a more space as compared to like just doing your bachelor's and then going for building a, let's say, a startup. If you want to build a startup, yes, you will take 1 or 2 years to build it, but you know, it adds sort of that extra sort of money minded pressure that you have when you are building a startup. How much will some person will invest in me? There are a lot of people who are involved in it, but in general in PhD, what I personally saw, looking at senior graduate students, they sit in the lab, they are working hard on their project, how to think better, how to improve it, how to improve a particular model. So they have no supervisor as of now. The supervisor has just 1 weekly meeting, and then they have to again go back to the whiteboard and they have to start doing it again and again to make it better on their own. So yeah, I feel PhD has its own pros and cons. Cons is about that, you know, building that patience, that commitment that you should have. And yeah, if you can't make a commitment, then it's better not to go for the PhD, because it demands a lot. It's not about the how mentally intelligent you are, but how well you can organize yourself. A lot of skills, patience, your perseverance, everything will be tested. So think twice before joining it. And yeah, on independent thinking, that's a very important aspect.
And how do you see your own future? What is it
As
that
of
you,
now,
yeah, you have PhD. I mean, after the PhD is done, then you have to think what's next. So, any
yeah,
thoughts on that?
as of now, I, after completing my PhD, I want to do it in the best possible manner so that I try to get a professorship somewhere. It's difficult, but I think when I did a direct PhD from BS to did PhD program here at WashU, at that time also it was difficult for me, and I became the first student from any of the IISER institutes to get a straight PhD after my bachelor's.
Yeah,
So for
that is actually amazing.
yeah, but the thing is now it will be more difficult for me.
Yeah.
But I think if I, what I believe, I have always believed that discipline and being able to be patient while things are not going your way, staying there and sort of doing it, it will help you a lot. So I'm going to stick to that particular work ethic template that I have been having all these years. So nothing will change. I do want to work at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory that's in California. I do wish to work there and contribute, but yeah, the long-term goal, if you ask me, is to come back to India and contribute to ISRO's space missions that they have.
Wow.
Because ultimately, I came here to get a better research sort of environment, like a more rigorous environment, I should say. But ultimately, whatever I take from here, I should apply it for my own country. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
And suppose you, for non-academic reason,
yeah.
you had not been able to leave India, what would have been your choice institution in India to do a PhD?
So I did do my bachelor's thesis at IISc.
Yeah.
So I worked on but I did about one internship at TIFR, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. So if I would not have got anywhere in the US, I would have gone to
So
TIFR
suppose
because
you got, but you couldn't come for non-academic reasons.
yeah,
And you had to say, look, I'm sorry, I can't do it. These are the reasons, whatever, I don't want to know. But
Oh,
if
so
you
you like are referring to like financial constraints or something like that. Like
whatever, I don't want to know. I just want to
okay,
know that
okay,
whatever something happened and you can't leave India, okay. Though you were admitted you
okay.
can't take it, then what would you have taken?
I would have still done a PhD at some Indian institute,
And which
but
one?
yeah,
That's what I
if
want
you
to
ask
know.
my yeah, because Dr. Mathur, I kind of was very obsessed with the fact of doing a PhD. My friends can tell you about this because they have observed me that, but because they know me pretty well, locked in the room, just writing off stuff on my whiteboard and trying to, how will I convince the reviewer that what work I have done is correct and it should be
Yeah,
published.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
they are sort of seen me at that stage behaving like a madman. So I wanted to go for a PhD after my bachelor's, and I didn't want to do a master's again because I feel this is sort of my personal opinion. I don't know how you will agree with it, but research teaches you more than a particular coursework. That's what I personally believe. Because you will be tested in every possible manner, so you
yeah,
can't escape it.
yeah, yeah.
Coursework, the teacher is teaching in this way. He's asking questions from this book. Maybe
Yeah.
you use
Easy.
some
Yeah,
sort of a strategy, because generally old professors who are pretty old and they're about to retire, they don't put that much effort in designing a quality question.
yeah,
So students they get that chance to sort of, yeah, he's teaching from this book, so let's follow it and we will get a grade.
yeah.
But in research you can't do it. You will be
No.
tested from all sides.
Okay, wonderful. Anything else you want to add here?
No, I think I've spoken.
What about some personal things? What do you enjoy? What, but or you only enjoy this?
As of now, like enjoyment, I have started solving Sudoku puzzles.
Yeah,
I used to do it during my 11th and 12th grade, but during my bachelor's time, I was completely like cut off from it.
yeah,
And kind of trying to read research papers from random fields. I mean, when I'm not feeling something like to talk astrophysics, I kind of jump into AI stuff, what's happening, any new model that Google or Microsoft have launched, how it is
Hmm.
performing. So these sort of stuff mostly during my free time. But yeah, as of now, getting a free time is very difficult
Yeah, it's
because
true. Yeah,
always some sort of a work you have to do,
yeah,
because in the US you have to cook on your own. Everything is
yeah,
like a self-service here,
yeah, yeah,
which I was not used to personally back
yeah,
in India. I
yeah.
feel people sort of say the life in US is very good. If you come to US, everything will be fine, but they don't realize how life comfortable is in India.
Yes. Especially these days where if you have the money, you can get everything delivered in 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I feel that I don't know personally what I saw. Even old people here are very energetic, and
yes,
what I came to know from certain friends of mine that old people, it's very tough to stay in US if you are old, and it's life you have to be very motivated and be energetic on your own. And I see a lot of old people driving cycles, cars, and all. That's amazing to see that sort of
hmm.
a spirit they have, which I don't see in India.
Okay, all right. So that's about it from you. Nothing else you want to add here.
No, no.
Okay, good. So then let's end it here. I'll be back with another young person or an expert soon. Bye till then. Bye, everybody.